For today's enrichment, we're still going to be looking at percent proportions, but instead of just solving for the whole, we're going to be solving for the part or for the percent. So it's a little bit trickier because you really have to be paying close attention to know what you're solving for in the problems. So just the same reminders that we have the four parts of the percent proportion. The part, which generally speaking is either before or after the word is. We have the whole, that's the total, so that's important to note, and it's pretty much always after the word of. The percent we know is 100 because percent's always out of 100. Sorry, I skipped above that. And we have the percent sign for the percent. So either you're going to see the word percent or you're going to see the percent sign. My recommendations are, as I might have said before, the first thing I do is write the 100. The second thing I look for is the percent sign or the word percent. Third thing I look for is the word of to clue me into the whole. And then the fourth thing I look for is the part, because I think that's the hardest to find. So let's look at number one. What number is 70% of 130? So first thing, percent proportion out of 100. Bottom right is 100. Second thing we recommend looking for, the percent sign or the word percent. So in here, do we see the sign or the word? Yes, we do. I see the percent sign right there. So that is 70%. Then the next thing I'm looking for is the word of. I see the word of here, and the number that comes after it is 130. So that is our whole, that's our total that goes on the bottom, which means we are solving for the part. And if you look at it, it says what number is. The is unknown. Now that we've got our proportion set up, I'm going to highlight to start solving. So the diagonal that has two numbers in it is this pink diagonal here. We're going to multiply 130 times 70, which equals 9,100. And we're dividing by the number that's in the same diagonal as the variable. So we're dividing by 100, which equals 91. All right, number two, what percent of 24 is 18? So again, first thing that I recommend, we need to write 100 in the bottom right. Next thing I look for is the word percent or the percent sign. This time I see the word percent. It says what percent, which is telling us we don't know the percent. So my X is going where the percent is. So that means these two other numbers that we have, they are going to be the part and the whole. It's going to be a little bit trickier figuring out which one is which. So as I said, my recommendation is looking for the whole before looking for the part. We're going to look for the number that comes after the word of. So if I look here, I see the word of, the number that comes after the word of is 24. So that's telling me it is the whole. And then that means what's left over is 18 is the part. Generally speaking, more often than not, with the numbers we are working with, the bigger number is going to be the whole. So I'm going to highlight my diagonals. And we're going to multiply. The diagonal that has two numbers in it is the yellow. So we're going to do 18 times 100, which equals 1,800. And we're going to divide by the number that's in the same diagonal as the variable. So dividing by 24, and we get 75. What were we solving for? This is where the percent is, so we need to include the percent sign. Let's try one more basic one and then we'll get to some word problems. What number is 44% of 200? So again, step 1, write in the 100 for percent. Step 2, look for the percent word or sign. I see that right here with the percent sign. So 44% is our percent that goes over 100. Third thing I'm looking for is the word of and the number that comes after it. I see the word of here. 200 comes after it. So that is our whole, which goes on the bottom here, which should mean that we are solving for the part. And if we look, it says what number is. We don't know what number is. That is what we're solving for. Highlight my diagonals to solve. The two numbers that are in the same diagonal are 244. So I'm going to multiply those two together, which gives me 8,800. I'm going to divide by the number that's in the same diagonal as the variable, so I'm dividing by 100. And I get x equals 88. All right, so those were some basic ones. Now let's look at a couple word problems. The Chicago Cubs won 60% of the 160 games they played this season. How many games did they win? So even though it's a word problem here, same steps. First thing I'm doing, filling in 100 in the bottom right. Second thing I'm looking for is the percent word or the percent sign. I see the sign right here. 60% is telling me that 60 is going up here. Now I'm thinking about what two things am I comparing? So we have the Chicago Cubs won a certain amount of games. How many games did they win? They won a certain amount of games of the games that they played. So our whole is always our total. Did they win every single game that they played? No. So the wins is not the total. The wins are going to be the part. So the number of wins. Our total are going to be the total amount of games that they won, or that they played, sorry. So this time you can't just be looking for the word of, because of is a common word that's used in sentences, right? So what I am still going to look for is the whole, and thinking of that with total, and then remembering that the part is representing part of it. Okay, so if we look at this 160, the Cubs won 60% of the 160 games that they played. So this 160 is talking about all of the games that they played. That's talking about the total games. Versus in the question, it's asking us how many games did they win? So our unknown is the number of wins, which is our part, because that's what it's asking for. So now we've got our proportion that we can solve. So the two numbers that are in the same diagonal here are 160 and 60. So I'm going to multiply those two together, and I get 9,600. And then I'm dividing by the number that's in the same diagonal as the variable, which is 100. And when I do that, I get 96. What were we solving for? We were solving for the number of wins. So 96 wins. Let's try another. It's one of those things, the more you practice, the better you're going to get. John spent $15 of his $400 budget. What percent of his budget did he spend? So again, we know 100 goes at the bottom. And then I always look for the percent sign or the percent word. This time I see the word, and it says what percent, which is telling me I don't know the percent, so my percent is the unknown. Now let's think about what two things we're comparing here. So John spent certain money of his budget. So did he spend all of his money? No. That means that the money spent is the part, but his total money is the whole. Remember, our total is always talking about the whole. So let's look at these two numbers. We've got $15 and we've got $400. Which one is talking about that total? Did he spend the total money or is that part of it? So the total amount that he has is $400. That is going to be our whole. The $15 that he spent is the part. In this case, it did work out that 400 is after the word of. Now we can solve. The diagonal that has two numbers in it is this yellow diagonal, so I'm going to multiply 15 times 100, which is 1,500, dividing by the number that's in the same diagonal as the variable. So dividing by 400, that gives me 3, whoopsies. Hold on, 1,500 divided by 400. I get 3.75. So that means he spent 3.75% of his budget since we were solving for the percent. Or you could round that to about 3.8. All right, last one. Jerry received a 9 out of 12 on his most recent social studies quiz. What percent did he get on the quiz? So I'm going to put a star next to this one because you guys get this a lot and you're trying to figure out your grades. This is exactly how you can do it on your own. So first thing we're doing, we are filling out the 100 on the bottom, looking for the percent word or sign. I don't see the percent sign. I do see the word percent. It says what percent. That is telling me I am solving for the percent. Now, what two things am I comparing here? We're talking about his test score. So we're talking about the number that he got correct compared to the total points. So these two other numbers that are given to us here, we've got 9 and we've got 12. Which one is talking about the total? Were there a total of 9 questions or a total of 12? The 12 is saying that's what it was out of. That is your total amount. It does come after the word of too, which means the 9 is the ones that he got correct out of those 12. So now let's solve our proportion. The two numbers that are in the same diagonal are in the yellow here. I'm going to multiply 9 times 100, which equals 900, dividing by the number that's in the same diagonal as the variable. So dividing by 12 gives you 75. What were we solving for? The number that he got correct, or the percent for what he got correct. So 75% was his score.